Have you ever looked around your house and thought to yourself, I just want to get rid of everything and start over? And then the very next thought you have is, that sounds way too overwhelming. I don't know where to start. I think I'll just sit on the couch and play Wordle instead. If that whole scenario sounds familiar to you, then hopefully this video will help you out, because we're gonna go through 24 specific things that you can declutter from your house that hopefully will help you to just kind of get the ball rolling, get some momentum going for your decluttering journey in 2024. And maybe if we're lucky, the first letter of all of these 24 items will spell out some sort of phrase or special secret message. The first item on this list makes sense with how we're just starting 2024, is holiday decorations. This is a good time to go through them, figure out if there's anything that you can actually get rid of. An example of something that I'm decluttering from my own house are these little salt and pepper shakers. I think this is the pepper, and then I think this is the salt. Look at the size of those salt holes. I don't care how much you like salt, you don't need that much salt. These, unfortunately, little buddies are going to drive themselves to the donation bin. The next item to declutter would be appliances, specifically kitchen appliances. Maybe you got a new air fryer for Christmas and you have the old air fryer. I don't know, do people replace their air fryers? I actually don't have an air fryer, but I've been considering an air fryer so I can become one of those air fryer people. It's always like, I make everything in the air fryer. Tell me in the comments if you love your air fryer. Should I get an air fryer? Which would be an additional appliance, and I'm telling you to declutter them. So, you know, do what you want. Okay, on to the next one. Next, you're gonna go out into your garage or into the basement, and you're gonna get rid of all the old paint. You can't throw this away. You have to dispose of it somewhere that takes old paint or something. Just do a quick Google search and you can figure out where to bring the paint. I would really recommend getting some really tight sealing containers and just pouring the paint into those containers. You can get rid of the big paint can and you just have these small containers to paint with. Next, let's go back into the kitchen and find anything that's just plastic junk, like little plastic containers or plastic lids. Most likely you just throw these right into the trash or the recycling if you can recycle them. If you're having a hard time getting rid of these because you might actually use these still sometime in your life, at least get rid of anything that doesn't have a matching lid and anything that's been either washed in the dishwasher or microwaved, or you know, where it just starts to sort of almost melt and get crusty inside the plastic. That cannot be good. The next item on this list are year 2023 items. So this would be anything like calendars, planners. Open them up and write down any significant dates that you need to move forward to this year, and then just throw those away or recycle them. The next item we're gonna call not quite sure cords. I think the big problem with getting rid of cords is that there is no substitute that you can use. If you have an item and you need to power it from the wall, there's nothing else you can do to get power to that item without the cord. So maybe instead of taking that box of cords and just dumping it in the garbage, take anything that you're unsure of and just put it in a different quarantine. No. On probation, cord probation. Set those aside, and then a year from now or 2 years from now, or when you move out of your house, as you're looking at that, you can think, geez, it's 2028 and I haven't used that cord since 2023 or 2024. Certainly we don't need this cord anymore. And at that point you can declutter it. Let's go back into the kitchen, dig into the depths of the cupboard and find expired pantry items. This would be any spices or Caro syrup or all the cans. This is a really simple thing you can do if you just take the time to do it, because all you have to do is write down today's date and then take an item out of the pantry. And if that date is before the date you just wrote down, throw that item away. Kind of like when you're buying cigarettes and alcohol, and it says in order to do that you have to have been born after 2001 or something, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're newborns. Anyway, do the comparison and it's really easy, and you can do that in just a matter of minutes. The next item is water bottles, and probably a big majority of you at some point during the last couple months got a gift of a water bottle. Someone in your family brought in a water bottle, because that's what happens. They just come into the house as gifts or as free things, and we just end up with too many water bottles. So just quick do a scan, get rid of any old water bottles, water. The next item is years old craft supplies. These are craft supplies you bought because you had a grand plan to do something with them or to start a Etsy business or make a bunch of gifts for people or sew yourself a new wardrobe and you bought all the stuff with good intentions and it's just been sitting there forever. You can donate that stuff to a thrift store, and someone who is a crafter would love to find your old craft supplies as long as they're, in good shape. This next one doesn't really work in January so well, but it's exercise equipment. And I just say that because this is usually the time that people start using their exercise equipment. But if you have old items that are just like a treadmill that you're just using as a clothes hanger, then maybe that's something you can sell and get it out of your house so it's not taking up space. And then put a chair there. You can put your clothes on a chair. The next item is something you might have in your house depending on how old you are, and that's audio tapes, cassette tapes, VHS, even CDs if you don't listen to CDs anymore. You might want to keep stuff that's maybe sentimental, but you probably don't need all those VHSs anymore. The next item is read books. Anything you've already read, unless you're gonna read it again, which you might, but I've never really reread a book, I don't think. You might be a book rereader. But these are items that you can easily donate and they'll get read again because everyone loves secondhand books, or pass them on to a friend of yours who is a reader as well. The next thing that you can declutter right now, go into your kitchen and find any scratched cookware. So specifically, I'd be talking about non-stick cookware that has scratches on it. So it's supposed to be black and you can see all these white lines or little nicks and stuff. That is just coming off of the cookware and going into your food, into your body. And I don't know the specifics on this, but that's not good for you. While you're in the kitchen, open up your utensil drawer or look in your little bin of utensils and see if you can't get rid of a couple of utensils or a duplicate of something. You got 10 spatulas and you use one of them. The next item to declutter is blankets or pillows. Places like the Humane Society or pet stores will take all of those blankets because those little animals, they love a new blankie and they don't care if it's all matted up or it's old. So it will be appreciated. The next item on this list is I'm just gonna call this silverware drawer. So open up your silverware drawer and it's probably not all filled just with silverware, but a lot of times we just kind of end up throwing extra stuff in there. So open that up and dig through there and see if you can clean it up a little bit and make it look like a Pinterest silverware drawer. Doesn't that sound beautiful? I don't know how realistic that is, but it's a good goal. Next, take 2 steps this way. Open up your beverage container and find some cups or mugs that you can get rid of, because mugs, again, just like water bottles and blankets, they come into the house and they just stay there. They grow little roots and just stick to your cupboard. This is one I feel like you need to be really intentional about which cups and mugs you are actually using, which ones are have the name of your old place you used to work or something, or the name of an old anything that's not relevant in your life anymore. These can probably go. The next item is picture frames. Do you have old or new picture frames that are just sitting in a cupboard somewhere or standing up against a wall and you had really good intentions to fill it with family photos or something you painted yourself with those craft supplies you just got rid of, and they've been just sitting there for years? Literally, these things can just sit there for years and not have a picture in them or any purpose. And if you bring those to a thrift store and donate them, think about how exciting you'd be if you were a crafter and you went to the thrift store and you found a whole bunch of craft supplies and then a beautiful frame to frame your masterpiece. So consider that person and bring your old picture frames to the thrift store and donate them. So I made a mistake. That picture frames with a P was supposed to actually be an R. So if you're actually writing this down, scratch the P out and write R instead. No one's really doing that anyway. But if you are, just make that little change. The next one on this list is something that we keep around because we think we need it, and when it comes down to it, you don't actually need it. And that's instructions or manuals for items that you have in your house, or maybe these are things you used to have in your house and you still have the manual for. So obviously get rid of those. And anything that you currently have in your house, you probably Google it anyway. And it's so much easier to find it online, and probably someone made a YouTube video about how to do that particular thing you want to do anyway. The next thing you can declutter to just kick off 2024 with a decluttering frenzy is board games or decks of cards that don't have 52 cards. The next one is something that we're guilty of keeping around, and that is expired sunscreens. basically expired anything. But this one is specifically sunscreen. They sit in your cupboard, and then the next time you go somewhere where there's a lot of sun, or you go outside or whatever, however often you use your sunscreen, you lather it up and you feel all protected, and then you realize that it's actually 3 years old. This is going to be something that is worth throwing away the old and getting some new stuff and making sure that we are all protected on our skin. If you are enjoying this video, please hit the like button down below, because that just lets me know what sort of videos to make. Thank you for doing that if you do. The next item is another kitchen item, because we just have too much stuff in our kitchens, and that is recipe books. Recipe books used to be something that everyone used, and now everyone doesn't use them. Just kidding. People probably still use recipe books, and I have a few that I still use myself, but chances are you have some sort of recipe book in your cupboard that you're not using and that you can donate to the thrift store for someone else to buy and put in their cupboard and not use. If they're in good shape, someone else might use them. A recipe book user. If you're a recipe book user, keep your recipe books. If you're not, get rid of them. The next item is a really broad category, and this can go for you and your whole family and everyone living in your house, and that is just shoes. If they're in good shape, you can donate them, and someone else would love to find your old pair of shoes, or just throw them away if they're in bad shape. The next item on this list is just an exclamation mark, and that is because I needed to put that at the end of my little phrase, but also that is just referring to get rid of this stuff. Let's start out 2024 on a good note with some decluttering. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more decluttering, click here, and thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.